Hey, welcome to the show, Leading and Growing Your Real Estate Business. This is Coach James Short, aka Shorty, and this is a show for those within the real estate industry wanting to lead and grow their real estate business. It's a series of interviews that we conduct for those within the industry. So we're finding out what those leaders are within the industry, what makes them tick, what's their story, what are their strategies, and how to become the leaders and the growers within the industry. But also, it's an interview series with those outside of the industry. I'm always a big believer of looking at a whole different part of the pie rather than just focusing on one part of the pie. Because what it does, it allows you to have a different perspective, allows you to get snippets or golden nuggets from those outside of the industry that can look into the industry and go, there's a different perspective. And so I encourage you to reach out to the guests. I encourage you to lean into these series to find out how can these pieces of information, experiences, stories help you lead and grow your real estate business. And welcome back to another edition. We have a special guest for you today. International guest all the way from the UK, Charles Whitehead, head of property investment at Pearl Lemon Properties. With over 14 years in property investment, Charles Whitehead brings a wealth of knowledge and hands-on expertise to every transaction. His experience spans from guiding first-time investors through their initial below-market value purchases to orchestrating complex international portfolio acquisitions for high net worth clients. Throughout his career, Charles has successfully managed thousands of property investments, establishing himself as a trusted advisor in both the UK and international markets. Charles specializes in international portfolio development, premium property acquisition, below market value property sourcing, high yield investment strategies, luxury property renovation projects, and cross border investment structuring. Pearl Lemon Properties is a premium property sourcing company serving both high net individuals and astute investors seeking below market value opportunities. Initially operating primarily in the UK before successfully undertaking strategic expansion into key international markets, Pearl Lemon Properties combines deep local expertise with global reach to deliver exceptional value across all property investment segments. Honor and a privilege to have him on the show today. Charles, welcome, mate.
Thank you, James. What an intro. That was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much.
so, so you've been in the game for a little while. Tell me about what was Charles doing before he got into property.
Yeah, well, it was kind of always property. It started off as architecture. So I studied
Okay.
architecture initially. And from that point, I knew that I loved what I call the built environment. But being really honest, I didn't have the patience to be an architect. Like, it took years and years and years developing these amazing projects, and they're fantastic. It just wasn't for me. I was like, I want it faster paced. I want more excitement in it, and that's where I kind of got more into the property side of things. I really started off just doing my own small little projects for myself, and that was where it all began. And more friends kept asking, "Oh, that's cool. What if you can you let me do something like that? Can you help me?" And then obviously from there it kind of grows and develops, which is just fab.
Wow, and here we are today. That's amazing. And so talk to me about your process in relations to a high net worth individual or an astute investor wants to then look at their portfolio or get into their portfolio. What do you usually, how do you go through that with them?
Yeah. So what I always like to start off with everyone, whether you're brand new to the world of investing, all the way through to very advanced, experienced property investors, is what is the real goal? So the purpose behind why they're actually investing in property. It's got to be start there. That then helps us choose what's the right types of strategies for them. As simple as that. And for some people, it can be, really like nice, modest goal. Like they just want to retire 5 years earlier. That's it. Just want to give them that little bit of time freedom a little bit earlier than they might normally do. Through to people obviously want to buy 20, 30 million pound houses and flip them and make a few million each deal. So you've got a full mixture of you're doing investing, and we help across the board. Um, because in principle, the same kind of approach applies. It's about contacts, but due diligence, the research, the relationships you can foster with other people in the property network that then enable you to do those brilliant deals for our clients.
Yeah, fantastic. And what are you noticing around the market in particular? Well, I mean, because you've got a global view of it, but all specifically UK as well. What have you noticed with the market over the last couple of years? How has that changed and I guess also changed your landscape of investing?
Yeah. So I'll start off with the UK because UK is core. It's, it's the kind of where our starting ground was. And prime central London was an area that everyone invested in. Properties worth, 10, 20 million pounds. And that's really suffered recently. Certainly over the last few years, we're seeing 15% decline in property values there. Um,
Wow.
Properties staying on the market for much longer than they used to. And there's a number of reasons for that. I think the international buyers aren't quite as excited by the UK market. UK government have made stamp duty, which is a tax you pay when you buy a property, really high, especially on multi-million pound properties. People are like, I don't really want to give £3 million to the taxman just to buy this property. So with that, we've kind of seen other markets become more interesting and more exciting. And that's certainly parts of Europe we've seen because of things like Italy and Spain and Portugal become more attractive from a tax perspective. But then internationally, we were just talking prior, saying Australia's become a really attractive place. It seems that it's not as restrictive as it is in some other countries. So people are really interested in doing in it, investing there. And what I'd also say is that so Chinese overseas investors, for example, they're actually quite interested in investing back into China, whereas previously they often wanted to try and invest in other areas. So we're seeing that switch change as well. And we have some relationships with direct agents over there that we can kind of work and facilitate some of those purchases.
Yeah, interesting. And where do you see, like, obviously, you'd obviously see a lot of shifts and changes, and obviously big dependent on government policies and regulations, like what you said with the stamp duties and so forth. Is that landscape changing, do you see? How do you see, or if so, how do you see that shifting over the next 6 to 12 months, if at all?
Yeah. In the UK, I'm hopeful that the government will leave as it is and kind of stick with it. Because as much as we talk about prime central London struggling, the rest of the UK is still doing really well. So there's still a lot of growth taking place. There's areas out, even if you go just to what we call zone three London, so just out from the central, that still performs relatively okay. And when I say performs, I mean the yields are okay, but the growth in property prices is there. But you go to other cities, the likes of the Manchesters, Nottinghams, these are the big cities in the UK, they're performing particularly well. And internationally, I just think there's more appetite for bricks and mortar style investments. We've seen the real rise of cryptocurrency kind of digital assets. And a lot of those investors have made millions of pounds and they want to put it into bricks and mortar and solid investments. So I do think we'll see that continued rise in the kind of transfer from digital assets to solid, as well as those digital assets continue to develop and grow in their own right as well. So that's, yeah, we're getting a lot more people from that world coming into this world, which historically you never saw. That was it. They were over there and they stuck to it. Whereas now they're getting in touch.
It's so true, right? Because you see whole crypto and Bitcoin, it's a real interesting game that's being played, and there are some great gains being made out there. And then, as you said, now going from online to offline, so to speak, in relation to their investment portfolio. You've been in the industry for a number of years now. How have you seen the industry change, particularly on the UK side of things?
Yeah, so huge amounts of change. I mean, first of all, the markets we talked about, they fluctuate and they ebb and flow. We've had the structural government changes, stamp duty, legal fees, everything has kind of increased. And there's a real talk about, oh, is it dead? Is buy to let dead in the UK? And can you make this investment strategy work? And people come up with all different fun investment strategies on the side of that. But I think when you just bear it down to its bare principles, it's still really strong fundamentals. We've got the potential for properties to grow in value. You get really great yields in the most of the UK. So I think the baseline is still there. And as long as you're prepared to adapt or accept that my interest rate might be higher than it was 5 years ago, I just accept that and accept that maybe I don't make quite as much profit, but you still look at it a long-term value investment, then I still think it'll be really strong and is a really good, safe investment. Um, I hope that the restrictions that the government's put in start to kind of mellow out and we start to see the kind of government go, okay, there is some positives here. in the UK, and I'm sure it's the same in many parts of the world, where home ownership is a real ambition. Like people want to own their own home, but you see in many parts of Europe where it's just not an ambition, where they just accept that they want to rent, and that means you have to provide really good quality rental properties for clients. And I think we're seeing that in the UK rise and rise, and I hope to continue to see that kind of direction of things like rent to rent, uh, where people will offer really good quality services, or build to rent. So you've got the big developers coming in, building big developments just to rent out.
Hey guys, just a little side note here. How's it going? Are you on track this year? I know that sometimes this part of the year we can feel like we're in a bit of a grind, a bit of in the trenches. Are you on track from the original plans that you set out for the rest of this year? What I've realized is that between with this time of year, we get so distracted and we've got trying to chase so many shiny balls and go down so many rabbit holes. And that's why I created a program called the 90. It's a framework that actually allows you to achieve more in 90 days than ever before. Some of the feedback that we've got from some of the people that have used the process, the 90, is that they've achieved more in 90 days than the whole previous year. So if you'd like to have the tools, have the techniques, have the framework on the 90, so you and your team can achieve more in 90 days than ever before. What it does, it impacts you of how to get clear, what you need to do, and who you need to be to show up in order to achieve the things you want to achieve over the next 90 days. Simply head over to jamesshort.com.au, click on join the waitlist, fill in your details, and one of the team members will be in touch and take you through the 90 framework. On with the show. Yeah, that's so true, right? And it's actually gaining traction here in Australia too. Have you seen a change where the owner occupier to that renting model has shifted in the UK? Because here in Australia there is that dream of owning your own piece of property one day, but where once again restrictions here have just increased with banks and government policies to save for a deposit. It does make it very challenging for first home owners. So is that renting model increasing a flavor over the UK at the moment?
Yeah, I think, as you said, partly because it's maybe more difficult to own their own home, because saving up a deposit to get to that level is harder for many, but also because we're seeing such good facilities being delivered in that build to rent sector. You couldn't dream of owning a home that has its own swimming pool, gym, tennis courts, running track, dog grooming facilities. We're seeing all sorts going into that world. And so people are going, do you know what? Especially whilst I'm young, I'm quite happy to have this amazing facilities and live like that. And obviously, once people start to want to set up families, maybe the home ownership becomes more important. But that's getting older as well. So 25 was the year when you used to want to try and own your home. Now it's 35. So yeah, it's a massive market. And I'm really excited by that because it leads opportunities for big developers, and it leads people having amazing lifestyles when they're young. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want
So
nice facilities?
true.
Yeah.
So true. So true. Examples. I'd love to hear a case study or an example that you've worked with a client that you can maybe share some highlights and some successes that you've had over the years that you may be proud of, or it's a good story to share, and just how they've grown their portfolio through the advice and the expertise that you share.
Yeah, absolutely. And the best thing to do is go back to some people that were 10 years ago and just seeing the journey that they go on. And I'll give you an example of a meeting, just from yesterday, to kind of do the two comparisons. So 10 years ago, people would come in, we do these sessions where we talk about goals and talk about their strategy. And, I'd say, look, what you can do, you can buy a property, it's going to grow nicely in value, you'll refinance it, release the money, buy another property. And in 10 years, you'll have two or three, and you'll be able to redo it again. And you might be able to get to six without having to put loads of your own money in. And clients look at you, go, really? Really? You sure? And now I get to speak to those clients that I had those conversations with. Yeah, I've got 10 in my portfolio now. I'm almost ready to retire, and my goals are 20 years away, and I've done incredibly well. Because it's an amazing investment class, and you can tell I'm passionate about helping those people. And then, so with case studies and details of those, like that's just buying sometimes just newish build properties or 5, 10-year-old properties that are just nice locations, really well positioned, relatively good rental yields in cities like Manchester, where the growth has been really strong. So that's kind of one element of it where it's nice to just have those conversations with the clients you work with for a long time. And then yesterday I had two new investors coming in, and they were just a bit confused. It seems really complex. What's even possible here? And I have some cool modeling tools that just model out those kind of 5, 10, 20 years. And at the end of it, they were just like, and we had a 2 hour meeting yesterday. They said, no one's explained it to me like that. No one's really got through to us that how our little bit of money that we've got right now could grow over the next 10 years and what we can really get from that. And they were just super happy to be able to see it. And then straight afterwards said, yeah, let's go and find it. So now we're going to go and do the hard part. We're going to find the property to buy. But yeah, it's just great to be able to help them on that journey. And we do all sorts of strategies. So some people who want to buy a property and flip it, they'll do, we've got hundreds of years old properties here that people have fallen down, and we want to redevelop them and make them look cooler and add value to them. And you've also got people who just don't want to do much at all, just want to buy a property, leave it be, and let it sit there and work its magic on its own. So again, it's working out what's the right for that customer and helping them find it.
Love it. Fantastic. So many different great stories that you've got going, which is truly a testament to yourself. Charles, on the show, we have our 60-second quiz to find out a little bit more about our guests. Are you willing to play?
Let's do it.
All right,
Terrifying.
let's go. Favorite movie?
Oh, Matrix.
Ooh, nice. Which one?
Matrix, the first one. I
First
like
one.
the other
Love
one.
it.
The first one is by far the best. Yeah.
So good. Favorite food?
Pizza. Very
Favorite,
simply.
favorite holiday destination?
Oh, really good question. I have quite a few. So I love Italy just for the food and the experiences there, but you can do that quite regularly. And then I always say Canada is just one of my favorite places to visit. And that's because I like to ski, I like to try and surf badly. I like walking around nature, and you kind of got all of that really close to each other. Uh, and and it's not too far away from us. I've been to Australia before, and it's just so long for us to get there. So,
It
but
is.
yeah,
It
Canada's
is
my
a long way.
yeah. Canada's a
What's your
great all of it.
beautiful? What's your morning routine?
Good question. I've got a little one. I've got a 4-year-old at the moment, so she usually wakes us up at whatever time she wants to wake up, which could be any time in the morning. And then we usually have a nice time together. So we go and drop her off at nursery. So about 6:30 to 8, family time, breakfast, chatting away, getting everything ready. 8 a.m. we get out the house, and then I go for a walk or a run. And then always at my desk by 9, having done my exercise, done a bit of kids' time, and then we work through the rest of the day. I'm a big runner. It's like one of my favorite things to do. So then sometimes I even get a double running on a morning. So I'll do the run, I then get to all my emails and all the kind of hard work done, and then I might go out for a lunch run
Love it.
from there.
What's your evening routine?
So I usually finish quite late, and my little girl comes home and usually sits on my lap most evenings, looking at what I've been doing today, and she always wants to type and do that. And then again, it's a nice little family time. I think it's so important that running businesses like we do, you can find yourself completely lack of time. So I usually try and just spend those hours in the morning and the hour in the evenings with her, and then afterwards we'll go and I'll come back to the office or come back to my home office, do a little bit more work and finish off a few bits, especially when you've got international clients, because the different time zones work quite nicely. I try and keep that morning completely for the family, and then the evenings can be taken away by international things.
Yeah, beautiful. What's your most embarrassing moment?
There's some ones that I don't think I can share, so that will keep. But there's some, maybe this is also on the edge, but I'll share it. I'm quite dyslexic, so I'm very grateful for things like ChatGPT now that get to read through my things and check that, even when you spell something correctly, it can still have the wrong meaning. And I used to work for a company called RMI. And so it was a Christmas card that sent out, and I said, "Thank you from the RIM team." And I got quite a few embarrassing messages coming back saying, "Have you rebranded? Have you?" So, yeah, yes, yes, yes. Thank you very much. Happy Christmas to you. Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
dear, that's a good one. That's a good one. If you could choose five inspirational people to have dinner with, who could they be? They could be dead or alive.
yeah, great. I'll try and go away from the obvious. So I'll do one that is architectural. So Zaha Hadid, which is a very famous architect, she isn't now passed away, but I think she was just such an inspiration, such variety of architecture that you just no one else has really been able to replicate or have done before. So I think she would be fascinating to have a chat to. I be, be on the other side of it, I love having a meal with my mum and dad. You can probably tell I'm a bit of a family person, and both of them are very inspirational. I won't go into what they do, but they're very inspirational and kind of very proud of them. So we don't get to do it often. They live in different cities, but again, I would still put them in my top five to have a nice little meal with. Um, then we'll go to, I don't know if you're a fan of science, but I'm a big kind of scientist nerd. So one of the big scientists, maybe a new like Newton would probably yeah, I think so. I think that's pretty cool what he's done. A little bit of gravity, kind of work all of that out, old school, in information that you just think, God, we have massive knowledge around the world that we wouldn't have without someone like that. I think is real spectacular. And so that's I'm going to put that as four because I put mum and dad as one. So I'll do one final one. Who would be final one? You know what? I get to have dinners with lots of people that I do find inspirational. I guess someone like Steve Jobs, I'll go for a mainstream person purely because it built a huge business, very inspirational, terrifying at the same time because I probably wouldn't want to have worked for him at all. Like just my work ethic's not there. I'd be terrified. But I think just a huge inspiration, like and totally changed the world forever. And I love product. I think there's something great about yes, you can have the technology, but if you don't have a really great product, then you haven't really got much.
Very
So
true.
that's my
Great five. Great five. If you were prime minister for the day, what's one thing that you would change?
change the stamp duty back.
Good idea. What's your best piece of advice?
Best piece of advice. Um, so once people always told me when you're younger that you'll figure it out and you'll work it out. And I remember thinking early on, like I'm fumbling through here. I really want to make a success of things really early on. And I think just really enjoy that journey. Enjoy and don't be afraid of, yes, you can work really hard, but go and have time with your friends. Go and spend time with people that you like to spend time with. Do an amazing in your 20s, take advantage of that. And then in the 30s, that's when you really want to start working out what's your next step, what are you going to do in the future, and build it from there.
Love it. Fantastic. And how can the audience find out more about yourself?
Absolutely. So we've got Pearl Lemon Properties, which is our website. You just type in Pearl Lemon Properties, which is Pearl Lemon Properties, and you can find lots on our website there. We've got a little YouTube video that we do as well. Very quick, short 1 minute videos that we put out there just as a little kind of more information. And there's lots of information there. And then get in touch. We'd love to help anyone that we possibly can on their property investment journey.
Fantastic. Charles, thank you for your time, your energy, and your expertise today. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. James, absolutely fantastic. Thank you for your time too.